This video will explore a coming trend of automation in the quick service restaurant, or QSR industry. The QSR industry includes many well-known brands, including Subway, McDonald's, Yum! Brands, who own KFC, Taco Bell, and Pizza Hut. This video will focus primarily on the US market, as the US is the global leader in the QSR industry, but this phenomenon has global implications as well. The QSR industry in the US currently employs roughly 3.6 million people, with the vast majority of those jobs being low-skilled jobs in the restaurants themselves. These low-skilled jobs are incredibly expensive for the employer, and the turnover rate for employees is also extremely high. For example, Seattle has been leading the push for a higher minimum wage and has successfully raised their minimum wage to $15 an hour. While other low-skilled jobs, like many manufacturing jobs, have been easily outsourced to areas with a cheaper wage rate, QSR employees have to physically be at the point of sale. Historically, this has protected these workers from having their jobs outsourced. As technology increases and labor becomes more expensive, it's increasingly likely that robots will begin to replace human workers in the creation of QSR restaurant products. This video will first discuss the facts about the QSR industry in the United States, then the revolutions in technology that will allow the industry to replace some of its workers with robots. Lastly, we will discuss the broader implications for the labor market. The United States QSR industry is huge. There are over 200,000 restaurant locations across the nation, employing more than 3.6 million people. Industry revenue has grown from $6 billion in 1970 to more than $160 billion in 2013. QSR products are characterized by low-cost, high-volume production and typically have an assembly line process in the back of the house. This process lends itself very well to mechanization. Overall, we propose that automation in the quick service industry will be more commonplace in the future and will detrimentally affect the market for low-skilled labor.
The International Federation of Robotics projects that the use of industrial robotics will increase 6% annually throughout 2017. The use of commercial robotics could grow at an even faster rate and would almost certainly be pushed along by minimum wage increases. A San Francisco-based robotics company has unveiled the Smart Restaurants machine, which is capable of making 360 customized gourmet burgers per hour without the aid of a human. In other words, Momento Machines has invented a fully automated contraption that can grind meat, slice tomatoes, grill patties, wrap fully cooked burgers, and do pretty much anything else human fast food workers can do, according to Momento Machines website. More interestingly, Momento Machines can customize meat grinds from every single customer. For example, if a customer wants a patty with 1/3 pork and 2/3 bison, it can have it just in a couple of minutes. Furthermore, the labor savings allow a restaurant to spend approximately twice as much on high-quality ingredients, and the gourmet cooking techniques make the ingredients taste much better. Burger robots may improve consistency and sanitation, and they can knock out a rush like nobody's business. Pizza Hut is taking a similar approach as burger restaurants in the sense that it is trying to swap out the tables at its dining restaurants for massive touchscreen displays. Once the customer sits down, he can customize his pizza throughout a table with a touchscreen display. The customer will be able to automatically sign in to his personalized account by placing his smartphone on the electronic table, design his own pizza, pay for the order, and even play popular games while it waits.
It is widely asserted that we are experiencing a third industrial revolution, i.e. the digital revolution. Each of the past two industrial revolutions, the first beginning in 1760 and the second in 1860, has caused discomfort, economic upheaval, and creation of new hierarchies. However, these revolutions both eventually resulted in increased productivity and created plenty of new jobs. Many economists predict that the digital revolution will not have such sunny implications for labor and productivity. This is an important intrasystem outcome as it deals with growth, cyclicality, and composition of output. In an Economist special report, it is asserted that technology isn't working, meaning new digital technologies are not creating enough new jobs and are not boosting productivity at all. In fact, the report states that between 1991 and 2012, the average annual increase in real wages in America was 1%. That was far less than the rate of economic growth over the period and far less than in earlier decades. The job transitions that occurred in previous technological revolutions are not happening in this digital one. Instead, new technologies create jobs for the very highly skilled and innovative sector and do not increase, in fact may decrease, stocks of low-skill labor opportunities. This lack of growth in productivity and employment indicates the system trap of drift to low performance. Without absolute goals in productivity for the implementation of new technology, assumptions may be made that technology is boosting performance simply by existing. This may lead to a lack of corrective action, which may decrease the effectiveness of new technology. The development of high-skilled labor and underdevelopment of low-skilled labor is creating and will continue to create massive income disparities, especially within wealthy countries like the United States. This is another important domestic implication, as distribution of income may affect social stability and respect for basic rights. As automation increases, some employees may still be needed, but many American laborers will be eliminated from the service industry. This also has implications for aggregate demand. We see a reduction in aggregate demand as unemployed consumers buy less in the market for goods and services. This issue of job elimination has been evident in the manufacturing processes of the United States for some time, but in the future it may become a service industry issue as well. Specifically in the fast food industry, automation may have serious detrimental effects. The fast food industry has long provided a safety net for workers who do not have many options, and the industry currently employs roughly 3.6 million Americans. The displacement of many of these workers is drawing imminent as automation in fast food restaurants becomes commonplace. In Amsterdam, a company called Febo has already developed a hot food vending machine where interactions with a human server is not necessary at all. These developments beg the questions: what are the implications for the economy if a large fraction of these traditional jobs are automated? And what jobs can we prepare for these people?
To address this question, we must understand the position of the quick service food industry in the context of the global economic process. The World Bank has divided the economy into three sectors: agricultural, industrial, and services, to analyze the structure of the economy in measuring output and employment. Initially, agriculture is a developing economy's most important sector, but as income per capita rises, agriculture loses its primacy, giving way to a rise in the industrial sector and then to a rise in the service sector as new developments in technology arise. These two consecutive shifts are called industrialization and post-industrialization. For the United States, we are in a post-industrialized system. In this context, our GDP focuses minimally on the agricultural sector and more heavily on manufacturing and services. As the cost of labor for manufacturing continues to rise and is cheaper in other developing countries, the service sector has become a large source of income for the general population. The services sector is defined to include intangible or consumable goods within major systems such as government, health, education, and modern communications, but also traditional business services such as food services, where human capital plays a large role. The quick service food industry fits within this framework as a hybrid between the industrial and service sector as a traditional business service, offering prepared meals for consumption. Unlike other industries within this sector, food services is prescribed as a low-skilled labor. To achieve their productivity goals, there is an organized production schedule that takes advantage of an assembly line process. With new technological developments like momentum machines, industry giants could develop this technology to their specific production needs and create an automated production and service system, decreasing their demand for labor. In terms of the 5-step analysis, here's a general labor model with the y-axis as the price of wages and the x-axis as the quantity of labor. For the labor model, supply represents the employees and demand represents the employers. At the first step, there's an equilibrium for supply and demand at W1. At step 2, we assert that new technological developments of mechanizing the food preparation process is implemented, causing a leftward shift in demand. At step 3, there's a leftward shift in demand, causing a surplus of labor at W1. Step 4, W1 drops to W2, decreasing the prices of wages. At step 5, there's a new equilibrium where there's a reduction in quantity supplied of labor as people are taken out of the labor market, and the difference from wages 1 to wages 2 is now profit for the employers. If the ordering system and the food preparation portion is automated, the role of employees can decrease as the staff will primarily have a supporting role, making sure that the equipment is functioning and that orders are appropriately completed. This would be an inter-system outcome as it affects the social stability, diminishing the once necessary demand for low-skilled labor. Momentum Machines even claims that our alpha machine replaces all of the hamburger line cooks in a restaurant. It does everything employees can do, except better. To explain the ramifications of this new technology, we have outlined 3 system traps. The first is success to the successful. With a decrease in expected wages for low-skilled laborers, while the developers and organizations reap the savings, this further increases the income disparity levels. The second is escalation, as companies are forced to compete with lower prices to stay profitable and maintain a customer base. Large global firms could easily facilitate the transition towards this new technology because they would have enough capital to invest. As the cost of labor could be nearly diminished, the main determinant of price would be the food. The third system trap is seeking the wrong goal. With increasing concern over the sustainable production of food and the diminishing sources of fresh water, in conjunction with concerns for the projected population growth throughout the world, is the technology development toward the mechanization of food preparation an appropriate goal?
In conclusion, the automation of fast food jobs has potentially serious consequences for the nation and for the world's economy. While technological innovations do have the potential for upside in net productivity, this often comes at the cost of human capital. As these robots become increasingly more prevalent, more and more low-skilled jobs will be replaced. What will happen to these people? Is it wise to intentionally eliminate one of the only available resources of income for the undereducated?